If I've only ever murdered one person, but I kept referring it to as my unfortunate first murder, you'd wonder, wouldn't you? You can't beat that logic. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are here with another episode of Macross Frontier. I almost said 7 out of habit. First off though, we have a comment from Elios Quadruple Zero from Macross Plus Movie Edition. The concert in this is amazing. I got to see this in the movie theater a few years ago thanks to Fathom Events. The movie is more about the action and less about the characters than the OVA. Things happen in slightly changed order, so the movie was storyboarded first, then the OVA was scripted later. It's not completion. The OVA is an expiation of the movie. Remind me, what does expiation mean?
I have no idea.
I think maybe they meant to say exploration of the movie, or an explanation of the movie, but I'm pretty sure expiation is also a word. So, anyway, moving on.
The act of making amends or reparation for guilt or doing atonement and an act of public expiation. I don't think that's what they meant.
Feels right to me, though. For all my comments about the OVA and the movie, that feels right to me. I'm with you so far, Ilias.
I think it's more like an expansion or an explanation.
Yeah, like I said, explanation is probably what they meant to say, but expiation actually fits better in my eyes.
Damn, dude.
So the way Macross works is another broken sentence here. So the way Macross works is if there is a movie, it's considered canon for everything after. Once again, disagree. It's a mixed canon. We're going to argue this every time. That's actually the reason why I'm reading this comment, just to have that argument one more time. You're wrong, and I have the vocal space to say so.
Also, I do believe that where we have to invoke that other show, one of the things that Harmony Gold was making says that they had exclusive use of the visual imagery and designs of the original Macross. So by tweaking things like saying the SDF-1 now has the arms, the RMDs, and stuff like that, and changing the designs of some of the elements, uniforms, characters, that gave a little leeway. For example, Macross Plus was the first Macross series as a Macross series that was released in the West, right? As is.
Had to have been if Bryan Cranston was the voice of somebody.
And so, and one of the reasons is that it makes no reference to any of the visual designs from before. We don't see any of that, right? So that skirted that thing. But say Macross 7 and this show, Frontier, Macross F, some people call it, or Mac F, or MF.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem saying that Macross Plus, the movie, is the canon version because of that thing of, like I brought up during Mylene Beat, the manga breakdown. Nothing contradicts it. It's, as you were just saying, self-encapsulating. So when Gamlin, I was trying to call him Garma, when Gamlin talking about the tea he got from Eden existing is the YF-17 is the main thing from Macross 7, not contradicted by anything. They don't use anything, right?
Yeah, YF-19, yeah.
And it's such a short, encapsulated story that even if they did use something, you couldn't contradict it with anything, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm related to a guy called Dyson. Okay, Dyson didn't, die, so could have happened, you know? I keep hoping I'm going to make, a character connection, I could pin something to somebody, but they future-proofed it, too. They could have just, not called it Macross, and they still would have been safe. It would have been weird about the karaoke hit.
I think that's one of the reasons I think. Also, it has the phenomenon that I mentioned before, and you talked about this as well, that as they go along, they're trying to, I don't know, at some level create the more perfect version of the original, right? In different versions. And do you remember Love? Debatable, but still, I think that was the intent. And in Frontier, 7 is 7, and I'll leave it at
I'll
that.
say that Frontier is actually failing on that behalf. Again,
Really?
the little map thing where they indicate that all these things launched within 1 year, that is unrealistic to the world that we've built so far. Also, it doesn't fit into Max's backstory during the Guvava Planet short. And yes, I know it's weird to measure a whole show, a whole series on the information you get from one short, but that short felt more realistic that Max would be on these little things before the mission started, because he needs time, and obviously they can't make 1 million unless they're making 1 million people in a year. In which case, I don't know. I'm just saying it feels more realistic that these things launched over time.
I mean, last time
that
they
Mega Road,
mentioned
that Mega Road 1 launched, and then they had some years before the next Mega Road launched. That sort of thing.
There's another way to interpret that, as we're thinking about it. Instead of saying, oh, they all launched at the same time, I think what you can interpret is that that's the starting year of launches.
I said that in my notes, but it doesn't imply that, because they all launch from Mega Road 1 to Mega Road 4, from Macross 00 to Macross 12, and then they hit Eden. And from Eden, Macross Galaxy, Macross Frontier. I think Macross Frontier and Galaxy launched from Earth and Eden, respectively. But anyway, up to Macross 25, all then launched in 2013. I'm sorry, 1 year later. The map heavily implies they all launched in 1 year on Earth, and then they all launched in 1 year on Eden. They're not saying it's the start of, because if it was the start of, then the ones from Eden should have launched much later.
But also, how you explain that? If that's the case, how you explain the time gaps? Because we're in 2049,
2059,
right?
Yeah.
And the last show was 2045.
Right. I don't know what time gap you're talking about, though.
I mean, if they all launch at the same time, then these events could be simultaneous with Max 7?
No, don't have to be. That these ships could be traveling around and have different things happen at different times. Technically, to what you're saying, that the stuff happening during Macross 7 to Macross 7 and Macross 5 would just happen in the past of this. So these kids are, 16 years old? So they would have been... Sorry, you said 45? Is that right? I thought it was 47.
Oh, even earlier, 35.
Yeah, no, it ends in 47. So the ending events of Macross 7 are in 47. So 12 years ago, these kids would have been 4 years old. They might have been in their past. They might not care. One thing, it's happening to another fleet. And another thing, they've got their own problems, apparently, because apparently the Vajra are around. Who knows how old Renko was when that shit happened. Maybe the Vajra were attacking all the other fleets when these kids were 4 years old. And it's like, oh, what, Macross 7 and 5 got attacked? Must have been the Vajra. Don't hear a damn thing about the Proto-Devlin. Again, the act of having them all out at the same time doesn't really concern me as an element. It just doesn't feel as realistic. One, that we've repopulated the Earth with millions and millions of people. Enough to send 25 fleets of Macross expeditionary or immigration fleets.
That'll be billions.
Well, yeah. Well, no. That would be hundreds of millions, right? So, either way, it's a not realistic number to what felt like was being portrayed in SDF Macross, in that they're even just looking for green sections of the Earth, implying that everybody in the Alaska bunker was fucking killed. The deepest bunker on the goddamn planet. So, I don't know. It just doesn't stand to what I expect from the show. And again, as described before about my whole Ranka theory, could be my own expectations or my downfall here. Same as that they were in Macross Plus. I can just be my own worst enemy in this. But I also feel like I can not like parts of a show and not like the entire show. So if you're such a hard up fan that you can't take one person voicing one aspect of a thing and you take it as the total insult, I don't think we got much to talk about. I can be critical and not. Sorry, I keep using a double not like it. I can be critical of things and still enjoy them. I feel like I enjoy them more when I can be critical about them because nothing is perfect. And I feel like I'm that guy when I think something is perfect and you voice something negative about it. You don't want me to be you, is what I'm saying. When I start being you, I get obnoxious, and then you get to see yourself in a mirror. Anyway, also wasn't done the comment. You just went off on a tangent and I decided to join with you. YF19's Gerwalk form is so good looking. Also note the call signs are changed. 19 is now Eagle 1, not Alpha 1. This part with Gould and Osamu, and Gould say he maybe even got to 21. Again, movie script and story was done first. It was the OVA that reordered things after. 19 wouldn't need the boosters. It can keep up with the 21 just fine. The VF-11 needs solid rockets. Think like the SRBs on the shuttle to even hope to catch up with the 21. So off-screen, Sharon was byproduct of the X9's AI development. Basically, she was forked off it, like if someone made a fork of ChatGPT, then turned it into a singer like Miku. Blink and you miss it. FZ-109s on the flight line. We'll see them again in 7. Did we?
Which one?
FZ-109s?
FC.
Doesn't ring a bell to me.
I think I know what you're talking about. FC.
There's on the flight. It says Elios. Elios says on the flight line, which I don't know if he means the lineup of jets.
In the Eggleston, yeah, they're the bad guys. They're the bad guy fighters.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to know anything about that though, other than they're the bad guy fighters. Is that like something?
Yeah, the ones that were being used by.
No, I'm not saying I don't understand what you're saying. I just mean, what's the importance of that?
I think he said that they were in Plus, and then you get to see them again in
the flight line. Is that
flight
like
line?
You're talking about like the beginning of the where he Isamu is fighting the
No. Flight line is when they're doing an overshot of New Edwards base and you see different mechs parked. That's the flight line.
Well, that's what I was thinking before, but it's like, why would they be there? I guess technically they stole them from somewhere, right?
No. I mean,
I'm not saying they stole them from there. I just mean that they would have been in the Earth military. So when the expedition force goes there to the place, they would have been using those. I'm saying they must have stole them from somewhere. I'm not implying that the Proto-Devlin flew off to Eden, attacked New Edwards base, and stole a bunch of VZ-109s. Obviously, we know where they get them from. It's just weird now thinking the expedition force is using a niche. I guess it's not niche if they have so many fucking of them. Enough to populate the entire mind-controlled population of Macross 5. Anyway, we will see them again in 7.
Yeah.
That's their comment. Sharon's effect works less on people with a strong will, like Isamu, why he's one the last to fall, and why Sharon has pretty much target just him. It is the music, not the hologram. Again, we'll see more of Y in 7 and Delta. Did we see more of Y in 7?
I think it's the influence of music. That's what he
Sound Force? It was the Sound Force that did it the whole time? Yeah, but Sharon's music didn't make glowy shit go. Oh man, I would have less. It would be stupider. I'm not complaining that they didn't do it, but I'd understand it was happening at the very least. I still hate it.
Well, I don't like Sound Force. I actually like the plus then. Sound Force was
No. I hate that it was just mind control, but it was like never indicated. Like maybe I'm the dumb one. I've said I'm the dumb one 1,000 times over. There was nothing there. It was like they didn't show or tell. It just happened, and I'm like, what's going on? Why is everyone attacking them? I guess that's more real to reality, though, right? If suddenly everybody got like hypnotized out of nowhere and you didn't, it would just look like it fucking happened, right?
yeah. What's a invasion of the body snatchers kind of situation?
Oh, I was thinking like Cell. Did you ever see Cell?
No.
Not the one with Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
The one with God, what is his name? He used to be big in John Hughes movies. Oh God, I can see his face, but I just can't think of anything besides Cell right now that he was in.
Young Cusack?
Yeah, I think it was John Cusack. Yeah, it's the one. I think. God, I can't remember his story. Anyway, the idea that everybody who's on a cell phone or on the phone basically kind of turns into a zombie. That they're like hive mind. They've got a goal and everything. But you have that initial moment of everybody goes crazy, fucking attacking everybody. Everybody who's on a cell phone, which is most of humanity at any given moment, it seems. Just the idea that if you weren't on a cell phone, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on? That was my opinion of what's going on at this concert.
Yeah.
Because everyone just seems like, again, for me, it was like watching a Pink Floyd concert. Everyone is just fucking high, watching a light show. So when you're like, oh, they're acting differently, I'm like, yeah, they're all on fucking drugs. What different? This is how I'd expect them to act at a laser light show. People just like did a couple drops of acid or, way too much weed or something.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the guy who's our point of view character just didn't, because we've been with him the whole time. So it's like, oh, these guys are acting weird. Not weird for a laser light show, though. Now, when they start pulling guns on us, and like, that's a bit weird. Again, expectations ruining my experience. That was a comment, though. Again, mostly read for the fact that this is canon. Movies are always canon. And it's like, well, again, Do You Remember Love kind of gets subverted by elements of Macross 7.
Yeah, it's pick and choose. Mostly visual language. That's what they really continue. Not necessarily story beats or something like that.
I hate that you can say it's pick and choose and someone's going to agree with you, because I don't think it is. Again,
no, I mean, from the creator's point of view, it's pick and choose, not from ours. We don't get to pick because they just decide which they want to put in.
Oh no! I mean, I'm disagreeing with you even there, because that comes to be an element of creator doesn't have any input once you release a thing. The fact that that there's elements of Max and Amelia's backstory that has to be from the show and not from the movie, thus indicates that the movie is a mixed canon. That you have to follow the story in this one specific way, in which case it's not our ability to choose. And also, if the author, for what you were saying, is saying or is picking and choosing, they'd lose the ability to pick and choose once they make something new that subverts their movie from being full canon. They're not picking the movie to be canon anymore.
I don't think the canon... okay. Like I said earlier, in canon, the movie, and this is what we saw in 7, it's a propaganda film.
I mean, I'm not even covering that aspect. We've talked about that before, that the movie is in the show. I'm talking about the fact that elements of the movie are then used, like the fact that we show the Zentradi fleet from the movie in the opening of Macross Frontier. Obviously, that is being shown to us to be canon, because we don't really see that much of it up on after Do You Remember Love until now. But again, the element of the story, the internal narrative, that Max doesn't become
Macronized.
Yeah, he doesn't get macronized and then have the kids, because Macross 7 shows us that the kids are tiny. They're microclone, or whatever. They wouldn't have to be microclone, actually. They would just be normal size. What is normal? Don't normalize people.
Yeah, we have one daughter that is macronized for some reason, but yeah.
Right. So the idea being that the events of Macross Do You Remember Love aren't themselves fully canon, because it replaces elements that aren't true. So I guess you could, never mind, I'm going back on my own thought here. I guess you could pick and choose, because you could, what's your starting point, right? If you choose Do You Remember Love as your starting point, then you change the things from that to fit everything else that happens afterwards. Or if you pick SDF Macross as your starting point, you then have to change elements from Do You Remember Love to fit in everything. So it's where you want your main thing to be, and then you change everything else around it.
Yeah, I think, and here's the thing. I consider canon to be primary canon to be shows and OVAs. If this comes in OVA format, and yes, I know the commenter said, oh, well, they changed it to the OVA, but the OVA is the main product, because we've seen time and time again, started with Do You Remember Love, that when they make a movie, they just rearrange stuff, right? They're like, I would treat all the movies more or less as essentially in university movies or a alternate universe, a reformulation, right? It's like, oh, we want it, and it's a chance to either tell a new story within the larger canon, or we have a bigger budget because we have a movie budget, so let's make it so that it's prettier and sharper, right? It's as if you were watching a TV series, and they during the TV series, like Star Trek, instead of after when usually is done, they would have a Star Trek movie, right? It's like, oh, is the Star Trek movie a pretty version of TOS or TNG or whatever?
I would love it. I would love it if the characters in Deep Space Nine got into the holodeck and just like acted out along the other characters, like Star Trek, Wrath of Khan. Just
They did that. They kind of did that in Lower Decks. Yeah.
Well, everything in Lower Decks is a reference. Lower Decks is a reference show.
Yeah, which I love. Some people hate, but
they say remember berries.
Remember berries, yeah.
I don't know. I think I've covered this before when it came to like Gundam. My canon is whatever we've seen, and then whatever doesn't contradict everything else, right? If something comes forward and is different, then the new thing is the right thing. If it's a contradiction, but it doesn't like destroy everything in the past, then you can figure it out from there. Like I think Amuro's invention of the Haru is like the very first thing that comes up, and it's like, well, him making it doesn't really change much from him having it in the box, so maybe he made a special box for it. I don't know. But you change it because everything that's newer is obviously made with intent.
There's two ultimate rules. From the writer perspective is canon is a tool, not a straitjacket. So as long as you have a good story, that should always be the focus. Love to use canon, but don't be so stickler to canon that you can't write your way out of it.
Well, I hate you. That's what I'm saying. If that's your rule, then I hate you.
But as a viewer, I am of the, is this dumb? If whatever you give me doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and I don't like it, then for me, it's not canon. I don't care if you say, oh, it's canon. I don't care. It's like, it's the Highlander alien rule. Like, oh, Highlander 2 never happened, right?
I thought you were going to say, what happens if a Highlander cut off an alien's head? Yeah. Does the mouth head count as a head for the purposes of Highlander?
Yeah. So
it's that kind of not to define canon anymore, but your thing about not a straitjacket, I prefer if it is a straitjacket, only because I find that a lot of great media is made with, I don't want to say straitjackets, but restrictions budget, say, is usually the biggest one, but the more reined in you are, the more you have to work to explore the space. And I think you get better stories that way.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. When I mean straitjacket is something you cannot escape and becomes a dead end. Like, I cannot write a further story because this thing said, for example, there's an example from a Stargate SG-1. In one episode, they had the fat guns. If you shoot them twice, they would disintegrate something. So technically, that's canon. They do use it with some paperwork that they had to destroy, right? Later on, the producers were like, yeah, no, that's dumb. We're never going to use that again. And they made a joke about it in that TV show within a show. They have two characters discussing that. Like, oh, no, we're going to have to use this other gun like this. It's like, no, that doesn't make any
the
sense.
episode's called Heroes.
Yeah. It's Wormhole Extreme is a show within a show.
No, the episode is called Heroes. That Wormhole Extreme comes literally just a little while ago. SF Debris, I think, did an episode about it. That's why it's in my head, because I keep going back there. It's like, have they done anything else yet?
Yeah, and so they do that, and it's like, no, that's stupid, and we would never do that. How can they work? Right? So they basically said, because
that's just meta humor, though, to point out the stupid shit in your show in a meta show. That's just fun.
They mention it that way because they never use it again, because the idea was, if you can use the SAT gun that way, why isn't every single bad guy disintegrating their targets, right? Why use the SAT? You could just disintegrate a wall. You can you can do a lot with disintegration.
Yeah, I know. So I understand that, but at the same point, that comes to like arguments that we've had in D&D. Like, why don't the bad guys just kill us instead of like moving on to the next thing? We're down. There'll be one turn. Boom, boom. Move off. Do something else. There's always arguments there. Same thing has to come into play when you're doing a storytelling narrative. When your main characters are essentially... Yeah, no, I understand. At the same point, though, that's something you can just explain in the world. Instead of like, this is dumb, let's never do it again. Fix it. Explain it. Do something. Just because we're not, you and me, maybe we couldn't write it, didn't mean you couldn't, though. There's good writers out there.
Again, well, I know that this is the colloquial way of using this. It's not actual how it works. It's kind of a sort of an Occam's razor, right? The simple solution.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
I've always said Occam's razor. Again, this is the problem. I think it's like word we've all read, and very few people ever actually say it out loud. Yeah. So it's whatever's going on up here. I've always said Occam's. You saying Occam's? It's like, maybe. Who knows?
It's an O. I guess you can say Occam's. And never mind.
Well, that's the thing is, I hear you're getting on me about how I'm saying it. It's not an O-A-K, so I don't know why it's Occam's either, so...
I don't know.
Yeah, I said, I'm not going to get on you for saying it your way. I just thought it was funny to point out that we both say it a different way. And again, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it. At least, not the person who came up with it. I guess maybe we find who made the term Occam's razor, or Occam's razor, if you say it that way, and find out how you pronounce their name. Or are you going for an international pronunciation? I want to do one of these days. I want to do like a pause and enhance on your glasses to see what pages you're looking at.
Oh. According to Google, I'm closer to how it's supposed to be said, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, looking at the Wikipedia, it says Occam's razor or Occam's razor. O-C-K-H-A-M. O-C-K, Ock, right?
O-C-C.
No, look, go to the Wikipedia article.
Uh-huh.
Wikipedia, Occam's razor, O-C-C, or Occam's razor, O-C-K. So maybe I've read this before, and I put that as like a pronunciation guide?
I guess O-C-C-A-M.
William of Occam, a Franciscan friar. Again, I'm just saying it as I say. William of O-C-K-H-A-M. So the name of the guy is O-C-K-H-A-M. Occam's razor. No pronunciation guide here on William of Occam, though. Ockham.
Is it OCCAM or OKHAM?
Okay, now you're just saying a different one completely. Where are you getting this one from?
Here.
Yeah, this is OCKHAM, which I say is OC. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
OCCAM or OCKHAM or OCHAM. So there's multiple.
Wait a second. Yeah, my page doesn't show that.
That's the first paragraph.
Hold on.
Where the heck are you?
Yeah, no.
And we-
See, even my preview
because you're
doesn't
going
show
to
the thing.
You're going to simple.
I don't
then
know.
it
I
says
just went to default Wikipedia. Oh, let me go back then. Yeah, because that's the first result on my Google, is whatever this one is. That's weird. I didn't know there was two different Wikipedias. I know there's multiple Wikipedias. I didn't know there was this one. Well, either way, William of Ockham, attributed to William of Ockham, OCKHAM. Like the third sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, this one does have a pronunciation. Not that I've ever been able to read these. Ockham. OK-EM. Occam. Occam's razor.
I got it wrong there.
I don't know. Is that even the sound? I've said it so many times in a row now. Is it the thing I said before?
Yes, it is. You've been consistent. Anyway, the point of all this
is how to pronounce words. I do not remember.
Close the circle on canon. And why don't you remember? I'm not really bothered by that. Actually, I do like many of the designs of the You Remember Love more than Theta does. He doesn't like the
do not like
the you don't like the Meltrandi.
Yeah, it's needless. Why give the other sex a completely different species name? There's Centrati, male Centrati, female Centrati. It makes no sense to me to racially segregate a sex.
I think what happened is in Do You Remember Love, there is no supervision army. So the role of the supervision army was filled by the Meltra. That's it.
Yeah, thankfully, or hopefully, rather, thankfully, like I fucking know. Hopefully, the supervision army comes back. That was like the thing that I kept hoping for in SDF Macross. Oh, look, it's a wrecked ship. Hope they go investigate. We should probably leave that behind. They do booby trap shit as per episode 1. Booby trap. You know? God damn it. Anyway, I did not like that. At the same point, they add material, like the whole, what I thought was Atlantis for a bit on Earth in the 500,000 or 50,000. I can't remember how old it is on
100,000.
Yeah, with the songs and everything. I have no problem with the stuff that they added that was not stupid. The changes were weird, but whatever. You know, Roy goes out even worse for some reason in the movie. Typhoon is just a guy. Like, everything... They, tried to pull back so hard on Typhoon. Hey, everything you hated about him? Not true. It's not fucking true. Also, then, why does that... I guess it makes sense that he still goes on to manage a group on Macross 11 if all he was a music manager. It also means that he doesn't go on to become a abusive drunk.
Yeah, but I think the whole thing with Macross 11 is a hint. Yes, we do know that other thing exists.
Again, I did not watch Robotech. I didn't watch Robotech, so this reference doesn't play for me. All it means is, hey, Typhoon's still out there.
Yeah.
You know, I guess
everybody is Firebomber American, you know.
Yeah, which isn't actually that good. I remember I think I mentioned this before. I tried to look up what would all these songs sound like in English. Did anyone do a cover for it? Yeah. And I found YouTube for Firebomber American, and they don't sound good. So it's a shame apparently that they came first though, and Firebomber is just a ripoff. Because the thing to do when you're the original is have way too much of a descriptive name, And then when you're ripping them off, you just take off some of those descriptive words. You know, same way that everybody does on Twitter, right? There's fake lessons out there, and then there's a lessons that has real lessons, and that's how you know that's the real lessons.
Yeah.
So everyone make sure that when you're looking up lessons on Twitter, look up real lessons learned 01.
Never find me.
And remember, he's always trying to send you nudes. I can't wait for there to be a Real Lessons 01 Twitter account that's literally just trying to sell an OnlyFans to somebody else.
Jeez.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No. We ended it that in a very positive note.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Space Fold 人類の銀河進出を可能にした夢の超空間工法
We've really changed folding.
その夢の工法も決して万能ではなかったフォールド断層と呼ばれる障害の存在や距離に伴う幾何級数的なエネルギー消費の増加が大きな壁として立ちはだかったのだ
Back to that map we were just complaining about.
プロトカルチャーに由来する
Oh, did you see that? The times under the planets. It was 1 year, and then 1 year, and then the time started moving. Implying that it had happened in 2 years.
私思うんですよあの不幸な第一次青函戦争の時武力でなく初めから歌で分かり合おうとしたら歌は文化
Was there a second space war we just haven't been talking about?
歌は愛なんです
No, it's just Space War 1.
No, he
Space
said
War.
unfortunate first space war.
Yeah, Space War 1. It's the same thing.
During that unfortunate first space war.
Yes.
That's not how you talk about it if there was only one.
Well, it is unfortunate if you are...
If I've only ever murdered one person, but I kept referring it to as my unfortunate first murder, you'd wonder, wouldn't you? You can't beat that logic.
The other ones were bonus. The other ones were fine. Oh my god, you broke me.
No one could blame me.
It's like Your Honor, the first one was so unfortunate. I didn't really mean to. And the other ones, well, you got to perfect your technique. It's like,
I can't. Well, look, our guy here is clearly our new Honey Suzuki type character, and that's what he says. The unfortunate first space war, which implies that there was another space war.
I think the implication is that because he is Centrati, like, oh, it was unfortunate that we had this war.
I'm not debating the word unfortunate. I'm debating the order that the words are in. The unfortunate first space war. Again, going back to World War One, it was the Great War until there was a second war of that scale. Again, I think my murder analogy is fitting. You don't. If I said my unfortunate first murder, regardless of how hilarious you found it, you would think that I've committed more than one murder if I said it that way. At the very least, you'd have doubts about what's going on.
Definitely. What do you mean? Unfortunate.
I appreciate that your focus would be unfortunate, which means I'd have the opportunity to kill you in the mid.
Oh, he found it. Yeah.
Goes back to my plan that if I ever did become a murderer and somebody was running away from me, I'd say, "Stop! You're on scare tactics." Give me just enough time to catch up and stab someone to death when they're looking for the cameras. My unfortunate first murder.
あれは一方的に引き回されただけでデートでも何でもない。キスまでされたのに
It was literally called Space Date.
それは照れんなよ。つうかお前にしちゃよくやったと褒めたいくらいだ。だが一つだけ聞いておきたいことがある。お前ランカちゃんとはどういう関係だ。なんでランカが出てくる。いいから答えろこの色男。貴様さあ言え。
早乙女くん、ミシェルくん、大変です。ランカさんが。
Suspended from school for one thing. Can't wait to pause and see what those things said,
決断は変わりませんか。
given the track record of the show.
もう隠し立てはできまい。いつか誰かが、それが今この私だったとはな。
連中に歌でも聞かせてみますか。
それがわかる相手なら、まだマシだったさ。
I feel like that's gonna be the, that's gonna be what the hell's up with this table?
みんなのおかげだよ。
にしてもびっくりしたよ。七瀬が血相を変えてくるからさ。
だって大事件じゃないですか。
Anyway, that's gonna be the track record of Macross 7. Should we make them listen to a song?
聞いたこともないけどな。
どうして水を差すようなこと言うんです、早乙女くん。
ほんと空気読めよな。なんだと。
It's a fun table, I think.
さあ先輩。
Unless it's Bill. They're pushing the bill to him.
なんて言ったってあのオズマ隊長お兄さんも認めてくれたんですから。
妹、よろしくお願いいたします。はい。
ほんと驚きだよな。
I will kill you.
Well, he's already made that threat before to Alto.
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't mean that he has exclusive exclusivity on threats.
これでランカさんは夢に一歩近づいたんです。私全力で応援しますから。目指せ銀河の歌姫、打倒シェリルです。
What happened to Min-Mei? Sorry, not Min-Mei. What did happen to Min-Mei? Well, we're on it though, but Mylene.
今は私です。
じゃあ2号。
Eh,
I mean, we'll find out. Obviously, that that's special, but according to the manga, the last thing she would do was travel on her
応
own
援してやるさ。
and sing.
すればいいんだろう。
ではここにランカリーファンクラブの結成
of
を宣言
course.
します。ああ。いつなの？どうして今まで？フォールド断層で通信が遮断されていたんです。
Galaxy Street, Galaxy Fleet been destroyed.
こんなのが似合いますよ。
ああ
They were attacked for sure.
あ、ナナさんの絵に
Oh,
なんで
come on, dude.
At least it wasn't a dick.
やっぱこれくらいアピール
Yeah.
'We become classier in the future. We don't draw dicks on everything. Now it's all boobs.
アルト君、
ん
本当はね、本当は一番に知らせようと思ったの。だけど、邪魔しちゃったらとか、うるさくしたらダメかなって。
何今さら遠慮してんだよ。それに実は俺もあの時ゼントラのモールにいたんだ。
Not a fan of this name conversion either.
そうなんだ。買い物とか？
まあそんなとこだ。
一人で？
I would never pay attention to anything anyone said at a table like this.
盛り上がってよかったな。あ、そうだ。これやるよ。
これ、シェリル
It's the name of the tour
別に誘ってるわけじゃないからな。
or the concert.
祝いだ。
Yeah.
スカウトの。
ありがとう。
バカね。
番組の途中ですが、大統領の緊急声明を発表いたします。
フロンティアの皆さん、ハワード・グラスです。今日は
なんだ。
皆さんに重大なお知らせがあります。ご覧ください。
あれってこの前の
バジュラ。
見覚えのある方もいらっしゃるでしょう。そう、これは先日我がフロンティアを襲った生体兵器です。
我々はこの物体をバジュラと呼称することにいたしました。そしてバジュラ
I mean, it's been implied
我が同胞である
that they've known about them for a long time now.
規模な攻撃を受けたのです。命令、あのクソ虫のがメインランドに飛びついた。頼む。この事態に伴い我々が同胞ギャラクシーを救うため、そして我々自身を守るため、私は大統領権限において非常事態宣言を発令いたします。大統領声明を見てるな。
はい。
It was until you interrupted me.
現時刻をもって SMS
Oh, no. Seems he's done. Okay.
情報 B が発動された。
速やかに隊に復帰せよ。
はい。了解しました。すぐに戻ります。やりどころか反応弾が降ってきやがった。
救援部隊の派遣は
Oh, thank God, he was still talking. I was worried that was it. Let me show you something real scary, freak everybody else out, declare a state of emergency, and give no details.
ところでキャシー、君に立ってのお願いがある。後で正式な辞令が下りるんだけどね。
Also, he's a member of FEMA.
FEMA?
Well, in America, that would be the Federal Emergency Management Association.
Yeah.
He's a member of FHIMA, FEMA. It's on his classified papers, on the very top right-hand corner. It's the letterhead. Meaning he's might not actually be part of the military. He might be part of the emergency response organization.
それにお前ももう16、来年には成人だ。いつまでも過保護じゃいかんだろう。
あ、だからって何をしてもいいわけじゃないぞ。妙なことが起きたら歌詞なんかすぐにやめさせるからな。
Oh, they're just watching it on repeat.
入隊早々、運がなかったな。入隊契約特例 B 項 SMS が死契約を結ぶ政府が戦争もしくはそれに準ずる状態となった場合、命令拒否権および期間終了までの脱退の自由を喪失する。契約書を読んじゃいたが、まさか本当になるとはね。
So now they're what? So sub to the military?
To the government, certainly.
Well, then that questions who has the right to issue orders.
私の故郷が無事だと信じます。そしてこのフロンティアが彼らを助けるために行動を起こしてくれることに感謝を申し上げます。
ですが、フォールド断層のせいであの映像は5日前のものだと。
それどころか、いたずらに手を出せば、あの化け物バジラの注意を引くだけという見方もありますが。
I mean, technically, Ranka, following her career path, is probably gonna summon the Vajra.
ギャラクシーなんか見殺しにして。
そうは言ってませんが。
そうですよね。この間ももうバジラに襲われているんですから。
ともかくこういう事態です。今夜のライブは中止だと思いますが、ファンに向けて。
中止？誰がそんなことを決めたの？
ですが。
ライブをやるわ。そして私はギャラクシーに帰る。
I guess everybody with basic human decency thought you might care more about getting back to the people you love than performing a concert.
I mean, she wants to represent that she's not intimidated and wants to support.
I'm not intimidated by these inhuman biomechanical monsters. That'll show them. In the meantime, fuck my family, I guess. I hope they're intimidated by me, my family. Oh, goddamn those nun fighter planes.
None of them will make it alive.
慣れる時間を与えられずに心苦しいが、しっかり頼むぞ、マニカ君。はい、艦長。
Global couldn't even smoke on the bridge, by the way.
艦長、例の件本当なんですか？
Let's lampshade the fact that he sexually harassed an underling. Yes.
It's in their contract. You get a job that you barely ever have to do anything with, but I get to touch all the butts I want.
キャサリングラス注意です。
お客様1名ご案内。
You'll be back home, obviously, Sheryl. What a weird poster.
から中止してもいいのよ。心配はいらないわ、グレイス。やれる。やってみせる。
なんだこいつ。誰が通した。話せよ。俺はシェリルに用があるんだ。どこから話せ。
I gotta say, Sheryl would be fucking dead if somebody wanted to kill her. Alto got that deep in. He's that far away. That's about as far away as the guy who killed John Lennon.
なんてやつだ。わざわざ届けに来てやったのに。
律儀なのね、意外と。
まあな。
リレーポット射出します。
断層がなけりゃこんな風にちまちま飛ばずに済むんだが。
I guess the pots are now reusable.
No, they're not using them. These
Yeah,
things
they're
are
in the
just
wind.
fold capable.
No, they have pots in the winds.
Yeah, but they're using them. They're built in. Probably not a great decision to fold into the middle of an asteroid belt.
艦長、大統領府より最優先です。
回してくれ。一級の管制免許をお持ちだそうですな、グラス中尉。
キャッシーと呼んでください。1300時間の実務経験もあります。
ではキャシー、早速だが働いてもらうことになった。よろしいかな。
はい。
I was paying more attention to the fact that she has that much practical experience, not, you know, flight simulator or whatever.
他の人には内緒よ。それはね、私のお守り。母の形見なの。それ以外顔も知らないけどね。ねえ、アルト。あなたこの船は好き？
嫌いだ。つうか、俺は都市宇宙船その
He finds it hard to breathe here.
どうして？
It's something you literally share.
空がない。
らしい答えね。
俺はパイロットだからな。お前はギャラクシーのこと。
私は。
ごめん。どこを突き歩いてる？このバカ野郎。とっとと戻れ。ギャラクシーの生き残りの艦が発見された。バジラの海軍付きで。胴体が発進する。遅れたらエースを入りだぞ。今の俺たちは軍人扱いなんだからな。
出るの？あなたも。
言ったろ。俺はパイロットなんだ。受け取れよ。そのために来たんだから。
持っていて。
Feels like they've gone with this whole. We have a small dedicated marine or military force, and then have this whole citizen soldier program.
ギャラクシーが嫌いだったわ。身寄りのない私が暮らすには、あの船は最低だった。でも。
勘弁しろよ。
All my relatives died on this other ship. We'll say like 14 to 12 years ago.
何よ、偉そうに。
借りとくぜ、お前の幸運。
貸すだけだからね。必ず返しに来るのよ。いいわね、アルト。
あ。
Can't wait for it seems like Alto has died when the earring breaks or something, and then it turns out he's alright. We're gonna call that the gambling maneuver.
Very convenient that there's a place for hanging the.
Yeah, you probably just wedge it in. Epic swell of music, then nothing.
なんでお前が
死後は慎んでください少佐。
また親父さんの命令で貧乏くじか。
大きなお世話よオズマ。たく
She's our Misa?
スタンバイ完了しました。
Yeah, pretty much. Well, a little more than that.
艦長、発進準備完了。
You are never gonna make it to a concert.
He doesn't have a bicycle.
I mean, last time she like got stuck in a crowd, she said, "I'm gonna go through the woods." She's never gonna get there. Oh, never mind. She actually made it to the last one. I forgot myself. You know what this song reminds me of? South Park, Faith Plus One. I don't think they're in love with God. I think she loves God. Literally, when I was in love with God, it would touch me again. It's like, Faith Plus One, I want Jesus wants to touch me. Like, what? I'll say it works better for me is a song in a foreign language that I don't know what it means. Because reading the transcription sometimes is weird. So the Battle 7 of this show.
Not quite.
Well, we've seen there is one. In the opening, there's one that changes into like a Battle 7 type motif.
This is a Macross quarter.
Yeah, I know. I heard the name. I'm likening it to Battle 7.
But they actually have a Battle 7 in the fleet, so this is distinct from that.
絶対に死なないと約束した。だから万一の時はよろしく頼むぜ、メディック殿。
当たるな、ならば。
お前らも聞け。
I feel like this is gonna be a show where I just have purple lines all over my board.
必ず生きてフロンティアに帰ってくるぞ。
Folding really looks different than it did before.
It's pretty though.
I'll say, I feel like missed opportunities in this episode.
Why?
Well, because it makes me think of, God, I can't remember the name of the episode. Macross 7, the episode before the Nightmare Invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where everybody spends a little...
Eileen's birthday, yeah.
Well, yeah, they all spend time together, find out what everybody means to one another. It's just really important for character relationship stuff. And we're introduced to, well, how'd you break it to Ranka? Oh, I told her I just wouldn't die. And it felt like that would have been a real good opportunity to have like a Mylene moment of, you're leaving me again. To see that scene. Like the same thing before. We didn't get a conversation between Ranka and Ozma about, you lied to me, you're still piloting, you said you wouldn't do this stuff, and then we're just back to a normal relationship. They're skipping over what I feel like would be very important characterization moments. And it would have been, like, really good to have that, like, Mylene moment of her crying, you're all leaving me, how can I be happy right now? She's literally running off to a concert to be happy. And then there's Ozma jumping away in the fleet. I already promised I won't die. It would be really important to me to see that moment between them where that conversation would have happened.
開始されるバジラへの初の攻撃作戦。その最中、アルトは命の選択を突きつけられる。次回、ファーストアタック。祈りの歌、銀河に響け。
Also, I mean, just because it feels like this episode that's coming up is supposed to be important in the same way that Nightmare Invasion was supposed to have been important. We're going to save the galaxy, the Macross galaxy, and that there's going to be some major revelations that are being had there. Like, who the fuck is that guy with the eye thing? Our Galaxy Bretai, if you will, who looks like a mixture of Bretai and the scientist dude from Macross Zero. The same feel of that episode, so I kind of feel like we should have had the same weight in the episode preceding it.
But also, I think we're not in the same position in the story, right?
Well, there's less episodes.
This episode, but even still, we're like in episode 6. Well, that happens in very late episode.
I'm giving it 40? The point of fact that Macross Frontier has been really good, and I wanted to maintain the quality of goodness or exceed it, right?
Oh,
if Macross 7 could take a show that has been inane to jokey about a lot of shit so far, and then craft a really good, serious episode out of all of that to lead us into the back half, the Macross Frontier should be able to take good material and elevate it better than Macross 7 was able to.
Fair enough.
So we should have taken that whole, what's your relationship to Sheryl? Hey, here's your good luck charm. Serious conversation about Cheryl's past. And then transitioned into what's Renka doing right now. And instead of Renka is thinking about Alto and Sheryl, because we're, for some reason, like I said, we were doing a really good job in the early episodes about focusing on balancing out the military aspect with the love triangle, and this is one of the episodes where I feel like we're starting to fail because we're focusing heavily on the character love triangle in not a great way over the looming military thing that's coming up.
I mean, we do get some aspects of the character, like Sheryl.
Well, that's what I meant to say, is that we're focusing on the relationship aspects there instead of what should be important. I can't get... I'm harping on it, but I'm harping on it because it feels like a failure of the show to pay attention to what should be important. Obviously, maybe because we're focusing on teenagers, we want to see what the love triangle is doing. But I want to know what Renka's relationship is currently with Ozma beyond, haha, it's funny that he can't let her go for her music career when Funny Guy shows up in the house. Instead of her passing out and crying because of how frustrated she is that he's been lying to her and took up a piloting job when he said he wouldn't, vis-a what we know about what happened at whatever the 117th fleet was. I think it was. And the conversation that they would inevitably have to have once he gets back from the hospital would be so very important, especially considering that follows up on the we're recycling this guy because we don't get the same dues that the military people do, that very serious beat. And then we do that very anime thing of going from a very serious beat to a very fun and jokey beat of what's the relationship like? Let's visit the Zentradi Mall thing, right? Which was good on the end, because obviously it was good to see her breaking out of her shell to sing, but I feel like we can't build up those serious moments and then not pay them off. And we've done it twice now with Renka and Ozma's relationship.
I think that, I mean, she does it with Michael. She basically says, you are like her, and you don't talk about things. And I think they're putting Ozma as the strong, silent type that doesn't want to talk about his feelings, doesn't want to. Because when Kathy's with him, it's like, oh, it could have been like that. And it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, he's like, yeah, that's a subject I don't want to talk about, right? And Kathy's doing the thing when you meet that kind of personality, you have because that's my dad was that way. Everyone around them kind of goes like, "Oh, we're not going to confront this person because it's not going to go well." So she kind of covers her mouth like, "Oh, I shouldn't have brought that up," right? Like people like Osma, especially people who are in leadership positions. I mean, I'm assuming here. This is my interpretation, of course. Yours could be probably very different. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen.
Oh, I have
like
something I'm going to say. I'm waiting for you to reach your. What is your final read?
My final read is that people like Osma are like the old silent male type that close everything, and they have an impact on people around them that people don't want to try to force, or either they get tired of, or really don't want to sort of force them out. Like, hey, tell me what you're really feeling, because that takes a lot of effort, right? Kathy did it with him when she covered her mouth. Ranka, when he's talking to her, it's just because it has this emotional moment and she runs away, right? She doesn't sit and talk to him, right? And what's Asuma's response? Oh, don't worry about it. We're gonna be fine. Nobody's gonna die, right? He's doing the I'm gonna swallow the emotions. I'm gonna take all the responsibility, and I don't want to burden other people, especially this girl that it's so traumatized, right? And I think that's the break in their relationship. That's why they're not talking at that level. Right?
So I agree with you on everybody else, but not Ranka. One, they live together, and that is a completely different dynamic. That is the same dynamic you get like with a cross-country trip. People you enjoy become people you fucking hate. They live together, which means the escape is only, again, you brought it up that I didn't really consider that much before, that Ranka ran away, but the thing she did before she ran away was assault him with everything in the kitchen. And I think when it's the thing that she cares enough about, like she was running away because he was denying her dreams. When it's different when I feel like Ranka cares too much, the same thing that she like goes into this fit, cries and passes out because how concerned she was for Ozma when he's being taken away by the plane. That they live together. She's not going to run away from the thing that he wants. Ozma in that situation would have to be the runaway, and he doesn't feel like that. Also, he's not like a Basara, that he is he's as flippant as I am in a lot of scenarios, in which case he would just have that argument. She would wear him down until he starts yelling about stuff. And I feel like, that kind of like, of course I'm still doing it. I care about you and I want to protect you. It would come into like that sort of argument where I imagine that she would start crying, and I can really easily imagine how the conversation should have played out, or it could have possibly played out. I'm not great with emotional stuff, so maybe I got it wrong, but I feel like I know people like this, and that should have been a big thing. Like, I feel like you're right about every other relationship, because that's people close to him, possibly, people he surrounds himself with, but people he can ultimately escape from if he wants to. He's made a relationship with Ranka that he cannot escape from, and he lives with her, which means she's there even in the moments that he wants to be private. So, there should have been something there. Again, I'm not saying the show fails because it fails in this one, not showing us this one thing, because I would even have preferred it if you were right, and she did just run away, or he... it's one of those, like, weird abusive drunk dad scenes in very serious shows where the son comes in and the dad's sitting there with a beer and he tries to talk to his dad and his dad just ignores him or throws a beer across the room and he goes off to his bedroom. One of those. It's just a scene where Ranka, instead of having a jokey, funny, Ranka doesn't talk well in a group sort of scene, just her coming home, wanting to talk to Ozma. Ozma, weirdly quieter than normal, just watching the emergency thing on the TV or whatever scene it would have happened in, and her slinking away in sadness or something. Just to show us the dynamic.
Yeah. In a way, I think Gundam Origin did it better when the dad comes home and he berates him and stuff like that. It's like, wow, he might be a bad dad or whatever, but that's my opinion. But it's you have that interaction where they're like, hey, this is what I expect from you. This is, his son's reaction to it. It's like, okay, fine, I'm sorry, I'm going to get to it, right? You have that interaction that you don't have here. You have a more jokey, throw everything at the guy who's being a jackass and hitting him with a, flying pan kind of situation.
My read here, to make it more Macross-centric, is that at base, we are a better version of SDF Macross with maybe elements of leaning into like Macross 7's jokier nature. And I feel like the Renka Ozma relationship would have been a time to lean into like a Macross Plus, more realistic depiction of character relationships. So, the rare time I'm saying we could have used more Macross Plus here, but I feel like that was actually a necessary and needed time to do so. And instead, we leaned into Macross 7 again. We just see jokey shit. And it's like, cool, I enjoy the light-hearted moments. Or actually, we did a little bit of Macross Plus, I feel like, with Alto and Sheryl. I don't remember my mother's face. This is my lucky charm because it's the last thing that she gave to me. Alto said some shit that I don't remember right now. It was a very good back and forth. Real.
He doesn't like the ship because he's a pilot, and the thing that he wants to escape from this contained space that he finds himself in, right? And
yeah,
like,
it was a very
right?
Isamu talking to Miyun scene, and it's like that was good. That was a real relationship. Maybe a lot of these jokey relationships are also real relationships. People deal with things in different ways, but it felt more like this is good character building. We're having serious conversations. I don't have to, start going through the weeds on what you're joking about or the sexual innuendo that is completely unnecessary in the moment, or what you're trying to tell me by having this little mall moment with a bunch of panties on the ground. This is just cutting right through it all, telling us exactly what we were thinking, and not in like this is all exposition way, but in an actual character meaningful way that you still express who you are while also telling me what you're about. And that was really good, and I feel like Renka and Ozma should have had that scene. I would almost say it would have been more important than the Sheryl and Alto scene, but I really feel like we should have also had that Sheryl and Alto scene because it really feels like it's informative. More so to Alto's character moving forwards than to Cheryl's, only because it feels like Alto is actionably using the results of that, whereas Sheryl is just going into a concert. Maybe Cheryl's actions after this will show that she pulled something away from it, but I don't feel like I pulled anything from just the concert itself.
Not the concert. Well, the concert is sort of framing what's about to happen, right? Especially the song, which is saying goodbye, 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 sayonara, 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 right? You're going away, right? So getting that emotional feeling. But I think it also helps to humanize Sheryl. I mean, a couple of episodes we've seen, because Sheryl comes of literally, they call her in the first episode, Kathy calls her a bitch, right? Oh, she's a bitch, right? But now we've seen a little more human aspect of her. Like, for example, when she talks to, every time she talks about Ranka, it's like, oh, hey, you found your voice, right? People need, and there's a thing that she says also that kind of feels Alto, right? When people come out, they have to come out on their own, right? She comes as, ironically, the more mature personality here, even though she makes a lot of jokes and does the whole thing with, dropping the
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of the show is facade. People putting up facades in front of one another, but that's what I was saying. People deal with things in different ways. Some of those might not be facades. I joke at all horrible shit going on in my life all the time because it's more fun than to actually consider what might actually be happening. You drop the facade and the world becomes a dark, scary place. So a lot of the show feels like facades, and then every so often we get a peek behind the curtain, like with Sheryl and Alto's conversation, where I feel safe enough right now that I can share with you what I really am or who I really am behind what other people call a bitch persona, and that feels real and genuine, and I just feel like we should have had more reveals like that. Again, the one I've obviously been bringing up, but none of the other characters feel like they've earned that yet.
I mean, we may have some time. Also, there's a time when he says, "I'm a pilot," and she looks inside his jacket and sees the symbol, right? Of that, and I think she recognizes it, like, oh yeah, it's not just I'm gonna fly. I'm a combat pilot. I'm gonna do a dangerous thing. She knows that he's gonna go and he may never see him again, right? And she doesn't do the jokey thing. Oh, it's the last time we're gonna see each other, so let's kiss or whatever. She's like, okay, I get where you're going. Take the earring for luck. And she has this face of determination when she's going up. And the song, she doesn't break, for example, into a happy song like that. Again, and also she's wearing like a lei, a flower, a crown, the dress. So I think that might be a connection to the Nome line, right?
I mean, the problem is you said she'd go a happy song. Unfortunately, we've heard this song 3 or 4 times now, so I just can't really think of much of her discography that she could go to.
True, but it fits the moment, right? Either the moment fits the song or the song fits the moment, which I think is a good use of the song, right?
I was saying it during the song that reading the lyrics doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So sometimes you can pull out like a line or two that's like, oh, if I apply that to here, sure. But the rest of the song is almost broken English.
Not this one, though. This one is, except for a few words.
There's elements in it that don't connect to anything, and I feel like that's like a translation thing. That if you're listening to it in its own native language and you understand that native language, that it's just like, I don't know, I'm assuming that there's something there. But when I'm just reading it in words, it just doesn't work.
It worked for me, but that's,
Right. Well, I don't know. Obviously, I was more of a Macross 7 music guy because even the lyrics kind of fit together. Like, Light the Light is all about love conquering the universe. That sort of thing. Versus, like, what's the theme of this song other than I fell in love with God and God's touch has abandoned me? Or I abandoned God's touch. I don't know. It's real hard. Because there's also a bunch of lyrics in there that have nothing to do with that. Like, the theme is like this, and then it's like, here's a bunch of other random words, and then back to the theme. That's the feel I get from songs like this, or from SDF Macross. Not so Macross Plus, because that was just gibberish. That was just sound. It's electronic. It has no, like, real words, right? What does she say?
Well, no. Yoko Ono decided to make it gibberish because it's supposed to be, although some of the songs actually been translated to English, but not all of them. Like Voices, which is has a pretty intense lyrics in English. But
well, again, for me, it's a taste thing. Or not taste, I said that was insulting. It's a preference thing. Sorry, I had another thought into that mix, but I got so heavy into the Renka Ozma thing that I'm forgetting what else happened that I would have commented on. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I think also the fact that the president decides is just to lay out the truth as best he can.
It was a pretty bad conference.
I mean, the way it was
scared. He scaremongers. He shows the monsters, and then for some reason he shows like the emergency transmission from the galaxy, including the final moments of the captain. You don't show that shit. What if that captain has family that hasn't learned about this shit yet? Gonna find out about an emergency transmission? You don't do that. He's fear mongering.
He essentially says, we need to buckle down and be prepared to fight. Basically,
his second in command, not second in command, his whatever Leon is literally a propaganda guy. It's just clearly he's fear mongering so that nobody's going to object to his emergency status.
I mean, one would think that the emergency status is necessary. Considering what happened in the galaxy.
It would be if they were bringing the frontier to the galaxy. But right now, they don't have any information that says they're about to be imminently attacked. I mean, other than the attacks that have happened, but they haven't been able to predict them. So if they can't predict those, how do you know you're about to be attacked? Ultimately, wouldn't your decision to be, hey, we're going to fold the fleet away from this section of space to get away from these things that are attacking us? Because otherwise, they're going to be tracking us or something. There's got to be a whole information gathering thing. And if you're going to come out and say, hey, this is what we know, and not imply that, hey, we know why they're coming after us or they're tracking us or anything, then your emergency is just what?
Also, the one thing I didn't like is that, this ship comes in, right? This ship from the Galaxy Fleet with a Varjo attached to it. Like, oh no, it has and then nothing happens with it.
Well, the problem I feel there is what I kept saying about Gunbuster. Like, episode 3 of Gunbuster, they're fighting, and then they break into a section of the ship, and there's just this tube filled with an enemy, one of the enemy weird space things that we've just been keeping. It's like, how dare you break into there? You could have been in a real emergency. It's like, they never do anything with it. Just to imply that they're studying it is the only thing, the reason that's there. And we saw in episode 2 that they were collecting parts of the dead Vajra as well.
Yeah.
Because they like show like there's like a truck with like a big old blanket over top of it, but they also pick up like a leg and put it on the truck.
Yeah. Yeah, but they come in, literally it's attached to the hull. Did they fighters transform and attack it and destroyed it? And that's the ship that was carrying the message, I guess.
I don't know if it was alive or dead. It might have been the one in the episode that they just had in a tube. Here's a full one we collected because the other ones were all like blown up and shit. So there's no real knowing.
But the way is that the ship from the galaxy jumps in, because the original message comes from a Valkyrie that a smaller ship that jumps, right? But then later on, when they send the recon, right, that jumps into a place, this ship comes in. They call it the Kilo class. I'm not really sure. And as it's moving to the screen, it literally has at least one Varja attached. Like, oh no, the Varja, and nothing happens. Did the Valkyries get destroyed?
Oh, I think I'm being confused by the end of one of the episodes.
Yeah,
where we see the galaxy's under attack, and then we get told like that was time delayed by the fold distortion by 5 days, and then we see another. The number of unremarkable ships that all look the same that have teleported folded in and out to check on the galaxy or come back from the galaxy is just like confusing to me. We need some hero ships or something that I can like, or something with like an insignia, because the basic military guys all look the same.
Yeah. So yeah, that scene was kind of I don't know what they were trying to convey in that scene. Does that ship escaped? Did they go to it? Were they destroyed? I don't know. Maybe we'll see in the next episode, but you know.
Yeah. I guess moving forward, they need to do more work on letting us know what the Vajra are instead of doing like a Macross 7 level mystery seasoning. Like the implication that the captain, Howard, is like acting like they've known about all this shit for a long time, and they've been hiding it as Leon. We should probably come out and talk about this. And that dude that I said in the beginning of my notes from before, the B name, that Howard has previously indicated that they wouldn't be able to do all this stuff without him. That I previously guessed was the guy maybe manufacturing the Valkyries, but seems now to be more tied with the Vajra, I guess. I'm not going to know until I go back and do all my notes about all this stuff. Thankfully, I've got a week to do, because we go back and are recording Legends of the Galactic Heroes during the next week. So yeah, I'll have time to consider. More importantly, time to take my time on the notes on the board, because there is certainly at least a lot to unpack. Because technically, we've done 3 episodes over 2 days, and now we've done 3 episodes all in 1 day. And I think, for me, it feels like a bit much, because Frontier felt like a real good world-building show in the first couple of episodes, and then these episodes are filled with all of my regrets about the show so far. Again, not about what's actually happened, but what I wish had happened, which is a completely different layer of regret. The same sort of thing that say, I can ruin a show for myself without the show having done anything wrong.
Guess so. Yeah, those are my thoughts. That part was kind of confusing now that I look back, and it's like, but aside from that, I think it was a good episode. Not the best, although I did like the ending. Really like the ending. It had emotional impact for me, resonance. Sheryl singing. They're going out to battle. I think it was a good sequence.
Again, I feel my final thought here. I feel like it missed a lot. It was a good episode. Not to say it wasn't a good episode, but it had what could have been the prelude to Nightmare Invasion, where they could have taken a lot of things more seriously, and none missed more for me than the implication of the conversations that Ozma and Rinka had without showing us that they had them, and instead choosing to show us jokier conversations. Like, please take care of my dog. Whatever it calls her.
My sister.
Yeah, to our Honey Suzuki stand-in. And that is supposed to be more meaningful than the implied conversation that you just offhandedly tell Alto or Michael. Was it Michael? Offhandedly tell Michael about. Please spend more time on the scenes that you're offhandedly talking about and less time on the jokey scenes. Save the jokey stuff as like the cooldown for something big happening. Because nothing big has really happened yet.
This is just that up.
Yeah, we don't need the cooldown yet. Save the cooldown for something big. Like, wait till somebody's dead, and then give us a cooldown.
I think it was more set up for, let's have a jokey thing at the beginning, right? Because the last episode really was more cooldown, and this is, we're going to continue with that vibe, and then boom, hey.
What I hope they're not doing is the trope. That's not even, I don't even know if it's a trope. Maybe I'm just making it up. The thing where you put the jokey thing ahead of something serious to lower your expectations to then hit you with something big. Like artificially making something bad, knowing that something really good is about to come. So to try and make it feel like that really good thing is even better. And I don't need that. If you're going to make something bad, I'm going to go into the really good thing with so low expectations that the best you're going to hit is all right. And I really want you to be pulling good all the way. You hit me with really good 3 first episodes that set my expectations at good. All I need you to do is just keep being good.
No.
That's
it for me?
Yeah, that has been us for episode... Oh, I thought we were on episode 6 for some reason. Episode 5? What's this? Wait a second. Am I just looking at the wrong... Yeah, episode 6. This was episode 6.
Yeah.
My
By
OBS,
Sheryl, yeah.
my OBS thing is still looking at episode 5, but it's still recorded episode 6. So whatever. This has been us watching Macross Frontier, episode 6. I have been Theta. This has been Lessons, and we will catch you next time. Bye bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?